This is the Fifth Estate winning headlines, your media police post, brought to you by the Fort Hall School of Government. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you might have missed this morning, but we also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 23rd of September 2019, and I am 2J.
I am 2M.
And I am DM. Let's take a look at today's headlines.
Yes,
Let's start. KIMWARER to monitor M-Pesa accounts to nab tax cheats. Wow. The Standard. Matiang'i, RUTO ally clash over land saga. And finally, the Daily Nation. Dam scandal details that shocked Uhuru. Where shall we start?
Let's start with the Star, because that headline is
with the
very
money?
interesting.
KIMWARER to monitor M-Pesa accounts to nab tax cheats.
So I think with this story, let's start with what they're really trying to say and then assess how they're going to do it.
Okay.
So essentially what KIMWARER is telling us is that they have a 1.9 trillion shilling deficit that they need to help the government cover for the 3.2 trillion shilling budget.
That explains why they've been so busy lately.
Exactly. You said it earlier, we're having a tax fatigue right now,
it's
right?
tax fatigue.
And so in order to make up that 1.9 trillion that we're missing, they want to start monitoring people's M-Pesa accounts to see if what you're declaring with your taxes matches up with what transactions you have on M-Pesa. But on top of it, they also want to start looking at companies that do not have physical locations in Kenya but might be abroad, like Amazon, PayPal, Facebook, and then start taxing them as well. I think this is very ambitious.
I think it's very ambitious, and it is part of their job to do it. However, I think what we lack in this country is a creative fiscal policy. And direction should not just come from KIMWARER, it should come from Treasury. You see, you cannot go after mama bogas looking at how much they have spent per day from M-Pesa. There are better ways of getting that money. For example, in my view, humble view, I think if you are to reduce VAT, let's say to 5%, you're going to encourage people to spend. If people spend for goodness sake, that money for VAT, you will be able to recover it away from that income tax that you really want to look for. I think we need to be a little bit creative. It is not the context.
I was going to actually say that they're starting to be creative, but I don't know if we should applaud their creativity or condemn their viciousness now in the way they're looking for that money.
I think we can applaud their creativity, but I know that in come a few months, we're also going to be applauding Kenyans' creativity. Because by the time you're doing this, Kenyans are going to find a brand new way to hide their money.
You know what, and I mean, for good reason. Most African countries, we have this hang up with tax. Because usually heavy taxes don't translate to public good. Like hospitals and roads and whatnot.
Exactly.
What do we think about the headline itself? We have a three-part criteria that we use to analyze the headlines. For you, we ask, is the headline thoughtful or is it speculative? Is it repetitive or is it groundbreaking? And finally, is it thoughtful or is it lazy?
I think this is a fantastic headline. For me, it ticks all the positive boxes. But I think let's put it in the parking bay while we look at what else we have.
Absolutely. So the Daily Nation. Still on money. Dam scandal details that shocked Uhuru. How dramatic.
So dramatic.
I would buy it to find out to what extent he was shocked and what shocked him.
You know, it seems that this KIMWARER was no money for value. And they say that 21 years ago, there was a report.
28 years ago there was a feasibility study, and that is what they used as a basis to approve the dam.
Absolutely. And I think Kenya would have lost a lot of money. But here's the thing, that is said and done. Uhuru has said cancelled. I think I have a proposal that any project worth $1 billion shillings, over worth...
You've had a lot of proposals today, humble proposals.
Yes, worth $1 billion shillings. Let them be appraised by a small body called a central bureau, where everything is just checked by one person, and that's the president, or maybe the Minister of Finance. Because if this was going to happen, Kenya, I think, would have lost about, what, 22 billion shillings?
If
we haven't lost it yet.
I think what we're seeing with
decentralizing the central government.
Not really. What you actually do, you are centralizing it and saying this. Some of the tender committees that exist in ministerial places will now
actually it's a centralization. So instead of ministers being the
overseer, the
backstop of their projects, when it comes to a lot of money, then there's one person.
So that's one person doing it.
And I think that would avoid a situation like this, because in my view, what this dam scandal has told us, to the point that we've gotten right now, is that Uhuru is cleaning up the mistakes of the people who are meant to be overseeing his government.
Absolutely.
And so for me, I praise the president for what he's done. He saw this mistake. He said, no more, we're going going to kill it where it is right now. But at the same time, it's embarrassing that the people he has put in government are not able to do the job.
The people who should be doing due diligence. I mean, the president shouldn't be saying that this dam was going to be built on a fault line. I mean, he's not an engineer. There are people that should have done those things.
You cannot have 100 ministerial committees making mistakes.
So parking bay. I think it's another good headline.
Yes.
And then finally, the Standard: Matiang'i Ruto ally clash over land saga.
Am I the only one who found this headline difficult to read?
Yeah, no, you're not.
Yeah,
it's actually quite...
it's clumsy.
Clumsy, yes, that's the word.
You see, the Standard had a scheme. The idea is to put Ruto and Matiang'i on one side. But the context of this is the chat service yesterday, and cheeky Aaron Cheriot goes to say the deputy president was in a meeting with the Matiang'i, and he summoned Cheriot to his office, and they asked him about a Senate report regarding the Roraka land scandal. Now, what he was trying to imply was this, that Matiang'i was saved from scrutiny by the deputy president.
So therefore, Matiang'i should be eternally indebted to the deputy president and be thankful and not air him out to dry.
But was he also not exposing himself for having been a part of the cover-up?
And the deputy president himself also, because he shouldn't be an obstruction to justice.
Exactly.
You see, guys, this in the greater scheme of things is this. Because KIMWARER was banned and the Kalenjin MPs were coming out against that decision, now they want to fight back using Roraka land scandal.
I see this as the heralding of the battle of the dossiers.
Absolutely.
Everybody has debt against everybody else, and they'll just play out on the headlines for us.
Exactly. You said, if you do me, I do you. So we'll see how that plays out.
So do this headline and throw it away.
Oh, thank goodness, yes. So between the Daily Nation and the Star,
I want to vote for the Daily Nation.
I would agree. I think our followers on Twitter had also voted for this as well.
Had they?
Yes, they did.
Nation.
And I think they were quite right on that. So
I agree.
The Daily Nation gives us our winning headline. And now the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. And just like the headlines, we have a 3-part criteria that we use to break them down for you. We ask, is this cartoon humorous or is it dry? Is it satirical or pessimistic? And finally, is it effective or just plain lazy?
Ozone.
Yes, Ozone. Ozone has caricature of the supreme leader of Iran, Ali Khamenei, and they call him Ayatollah. And his turban is a bomb. And it's called Iran. And this is borderline because we've seen people in Europe.
People have gotten in trouble for less.
Absolutely. And the fuse that lights up the bomb is Trump's hair.
Which is very clever.
It is, yeah. He looks so cheeky.
Yes. And this is the spat between America and Iran. Iran was thought to have sponsored the
Saudi Arabia
drone attacks on their oil refineries and stuff.
I think it's also clever commentary from the look on Trump's face. It's a commentary on how America likes war because they always stand to benefit.
Absolutely.
So they wouldn't mind starting it, being the flame.
I think it's a great cartoon. Let's put it in the parking bay.
It's very clever.
Daily Nation.
Iga. Every Monday.
Yes, a drawing of parents and their children. But now the parent is
looking into a mirror,
holding a righteous book,
which is probably a Bible, and a phone,
or a Quran.
Yes, or a Quran. And in the mirror, you have their children. And this guy is gangstered up. He's wearing Timberland boots, baggy jeans, and he's carrying a phone.
And he's smoking, guys.
He's smoking.
You told me this is how you used to dress back in the day.
I did not say a word.
This is a very interesting cartoon.
You know,
the phone that the parent is holding is probably full of Ezekiel Mutua tweets.
And the
country's moral police.
Because the phone that the child is holding says explicit content.
Absolutely.
There's alcohol on the floor, and the little guy in the corner is saying mirror, mirror on the wall.
You know what? I like this commentary.
Yes.
He's giving us a fresh eye. What he's saying, because this week we've been talking about the Consolata video and commenting about it. But this Iga, is this Iga?
Iga.
What Iga is telling us is that the children's bad behavior is just a reflection of the parents' bad behavior. It's a monkey do, monkey see sort of situation. So in condemning the children, parents and society and those people in leadership should always also do an examination of themselves.
I think it is a very good a good way to look at this, because previously last week we were blaming teachers. We were blaming the kids themselves. So I feel like now we need to turn the tide back and say, well, what are the parents doing?
What are they doing?
I like it.
Good cartoon, the Standard.
What do we have here?
I think we have Kaso. He's yet to tell us what his name is.
Kaso, a caricature of President Uhuru Kenyatta, and he's walking a tightrope here, doing a balancing act. On one end of the stick is Raila Odinga, and the other one is William Ruto.
And on his head?
On his head is KIMWARER elections. I guess it's like it's like a clown or what
or a circus,
It's a circus, you know.
Number one, it's not that serious. KIMWARER is not that serious. And then number two, you see, he's painting out the president to things are happening to him. He's not in a position to make a decision.
To be in control.
He's not in control of this, which I think, from my assessment, is false. So this is not a very factual cartoon.
We've said this. The president is in complete control. He's a man who surprises us all the time, and I just think this cartoon is just plain lazy.
To the bin it goes.
Yes.
So we have the Daily Nation.
We come down to the Star and the Daily Nation.
Yes.
I say that the Star was very funny.
Yes.
It was factual.
Yeah.
But it was not as good as
the Standard.
I second vote that. So the Daily Nation gives us our winning headline, and the Daily Nation also gives us our winning cartoon. It's a double win for them.
Absolutely.
Yes. So what is our final thought?
And now our final thought, inspired by an article entitled "Mao Zedong 100 Years On: The Legacy of a Ruler" by a man called Stuart Schramm.
Yes, we don't know. Yes, as you said, Mao Zedong, 100 Years On, The Legacy of a Ruler by Stuart Schramm, written in 1994. So this week we want to look into the world's dictators, or the history of dictators.
Yes.
What their policies were, what they believed in, whether they were evil or if they were actually good for a country, and how their legacies live on today.
Yes.
So today we're going to start with Mao Zedong of China, who was born into a peasant family that, in comparison to the other peasants around him, his family was doing fairly well for the times.
Yes.
So they were prosperous peasants.
Yes, indeed, they were prosperous peasants.
Oh, wow.
So the China that Mao Zedong was born into in 1893 was deeply troubled. China had suffered several defeats on the global front. The First and Second Opium War that was against them in Britain, and then the First Sino-Japanese War against Japan. And so the Qing dynasties, the perception of them was that they were unable to contain foreign intrusions into China, which eventually led to the revolution of 1911 that saw the overthrow of the imperial family. So back to Mao. In 1919, Mao takes a position at a library, in the Beijing University, and this is where he has his first brush with Marxist ideas. And so he begins to believe this, that that if China was to truly change, it would need to undergo a profound social and political revolution. And so by 1949, there's another revolution that sees Mao come into power. He also declares China a single-party state, controlled by the Communist Party that he was actually the founding commissioner of. What do they call him? The commissioner of? Commissioner Mao. Chairman Mao. That is indeed what he is called. Yes. So in 1957, he launches what we know now as a famous Great Leap Forward. And it was to rapidly transform China's economy from agrarian to industrial. And if you remember a few weeks ago, we actually went through China's industrial journey. The 4 attempts that they went through over the course of, I think, 200 years, and how each one of them failed eventually by the time we get to, I think, 1970. The early 70s. And so the question that we want to ask today, was Mao a liberator or an oppressor of China? So some historians say that anywhere between 20 to 65 million people died due to famine and abuse over the course of this Great Leap Forward. So the Great Leap Forward took place between 1958 to 1962. But 2 years in, they actually had to kill the plan because so many people were dying, and it just was not a profitable plan. So land was forcibly taken and redistributed to poor peasants. So you're seeing a bad use of land redistribution, because you're giving it to people who know how to use it, to people who do not have the tools and techniques to make it fruitful. And then you have families being separated, so women and children are being separated from the men. And then also you have untested and nonsensical techniques being used for manufacturing and agriculture. But then on the flip side, you see that before 1949, life expectancy in China was 35 years old. By the time, that's very low. By the time you have Mao Zedong dying in 1976, it has almost doubled to 67 years. You also have literacy rates before Mao Zedong comes into power being 20%. By the time he dies in 1976, it is at 93%. Moreover, people really credit him for liberating China from imperialism. All those Western interventions that were happening, he blocks them out and he says, we're going to do China the China way. Also, you have the empowerment of women, and also you have an increase in culture, in arts, music, make movies and all manner of things. So the question remains, was he a liberator, or was he this evil villain that the West has made him, historically turn out to be?
That's a very familiar question on this table.
Yes.
We asked the same just a few weeks ago of Robert Mugabe.
Yes.
Hero or villain?
Yeah.
So, let me get straight into that thought.
Okay.
If we ask ourselves, what is it? Should there be a threshold that makes somebody a hero?
Yes.
Because as human beings, we are bound to err.
Absolutely.
And as human beings, especially who live a really long time.
Yes.
The other day we were saying, if Thomas Sankara and Samora Michel lived to be old men, would they be remembered as heroes and liberators?
Yes.
Or would they have fallen into the villain
sphere or space?
Space.
Yeah.
So, there's 4 hallmarks of visionary leadership that Mao Zedong displayed. And we're going to see if we're going to judge on this table, if that is a high threshold enough for him to be remembered as a hero. So number 1, he was a very ideological leader. In fact, he reminds me of Plato's philosopher king in the Republic.
Absolutely.
So this is a guy who, when he was only 17 years old, you said he worked in the library, he was writing essays about contributing to the country's economic advancement and development. And his he had a long trajectory of ideological leanings, because he started at some point with Western leanings. He was a student of Nietzsche, and he even believed in individualism. But then he, in the end, became a full-on Marxist of controlled state and the peasantry versus the bourgeoisie. So that was when he was an ideological leader, which is very strong. And then secondly, he had very ambitious vision for the Chinese people. He didn't believe in the word reform. He went straight for transformation. He was very inspired by Bismarck's Germany and later on by Russia. So he aimed for the establishment of a new political system and a change in national character. I mean, for a leader to have that kind of ambition, they have to be so strong and influential, and that's probably why his legacy still lives on until today.
Absolutely.
The third thing is that he continuously changed his strategy based on context and to fit the times. He started off when he became Chairman Mao. In 1949. He started with a transitional stage where he mixed the free markets of the West with the planned economy of the
Soviets,
the East and the Soviets. And that happened for perhaps 4 to 5 years, and then he changed his mind and said, you know what, this isn't working, we're now going to go full on Soviet Union and have a planned economy. Just a few years after that as well, he said, you know what, this is not giving me the results that I want. It's not giving me transformation, it's only giving me reform. And this is when he went to the big leap, the great leap forward in 1957, where he was aiming to transform, and you've talked about that, from an agrarian to a industrial. But then finally, and I think quite huge, is the legacy that he left of the quantification of Chinese might. From very early on in his tenure, Chairman Mao would quantify the strength of China in terms of numbers. We have this many machinery or pieces of equipment in the country. Or at this one time, we have this many numbers of workers or peasantry. And that lives on until now. Even us as the outside world, we're able to, we think of China as a very quantifiable economy. Are these things enough to make him a hero and not a villain?
Absolutely. I actually think the man is a hero.
I would agree.
And if you ask whether it's a liberator, I'll say maybe then he wasn't, but now they are financially liberated, the Chinese. And my biggest takeaway from this was Mao's rule was a precursor to the 4th attempt of Chinese industrial success. And the reason for that is because Mao had 2-year plans from 1953 to 1958, and telling the Chinese, you cannot just rely on agriculture. But the second one was the amalgamation of smallholder farms into big communes. And you know what that did? He did division of labor, because he said, now you peasants, are not going to go back to the farm. Now we are going to go and produce iron and steel. We're going to do it to industrial revolution. But what also kept Mao and the Chinese quite low and them not doing civil strife was this thing, funny enough, they called the mango fever. Now, the Chinese at some point went mad because of mangoes. Now, the story goes, Pakistani foreign minister lands in Beijing, and he comes with 40 mangoes for Mao. And Mao, knowing how much the Chinese loved mangoes, he sends it to the propaganda team.
All 40 of them?
Yes. Now, the propaganda team take these 40 mangoes to an institute, to a university in China. Where there used to be civil strife, and these guys called the red guys.
Yeah, it was a group of youth,
groups of youth. And they gave them mangoes and said, oh, Mr. Chairman, Mao must lead us for over 1,000 years. The mango became such an object of intense devotion that they embedded it in plates, cups, and all manner of household items.
And did they propagate these 40 mangoes, or the 40 were eaten and they were gone?
Let me tell you, they used to take a mango, put it on a plane, and it would go around the country. And whenever they got to a stadium, they say, oh, hail the mango, And they even did a poem for the mango, which I want to read for everyone.
All right, please bless us with your poem.
Let me read it. Seeing that golden mango was as if seeing the great Chairman Mao. Standing before that golden mango was just like standing beside Chairman Mao. Again and again, touching that golden mango. The golden mango was so warm. Again and again, smelling the mango. That golden mango was so fragrant.
This is so ridiculous, but so clever, because it fits into our propaganda conversation.
Very true.
You have to make it visual. You have to give people something simple to focus on. It was called what? High spotting.
Exactly. So and I think it came at the perfect time, because what happened is that the Great Leap Forward, the country realized this thing is not working, and so you have a lot of discontent on the ground, and a lot of the times this discontent is brewed by the youth.
Absolutely.
The red gang that you mentioned. And so what does he do, knowing that these young people might be the ones to quell a revolution?
Absolutely.
He gives them mangoes.
He gives them, and you know what? Mao did not like mangoes himself. He didn't eat them, but he knew how much the Chinese loved them.
Isn't that ironic? He didn't like mangoes, but he was so despotic that if you spoke ill of mangoes, you could be killed.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was so high-handed.
Actually, someone said this mango looks like a potato, and they say, oh, it looks like what? Potato.
Off with your head.
Shot in the head.
I think what this week is going to tell us is that a lot of the time the West really dictates the way that we perceive dictators once they are gone.
Absolutely.
And I think that Mao Zedong and the other dictators that we'll look at this week are going to prove that. Yes, he may have killed people for very small and ridiculous things, but I think that today China is really living proof that sometimes a dictator can be beneficial to the trajectory that a country is trying to
So we have to be very objective in how we look at history.
We have to. Do you know why the Chinese have made it today? It's because of the power of regimentation. Those peasants were seen as modes of production very early on. If the Chinese if Mao did not do that early enough, China will not be the global power that it is right now.
Absolutely. Amen. On the day that we had a double win by the Daily Nation, who gave us the winning headlines and the winning cartoon. I will leave you with a quote from Mao Zedong. Bu po, bu li. There is no construction without destruction, and this gives us food for thought in what we've been talking about, the duality of leaders, of humans, the destructive part of it and the constructive part of it, and also the turbulent trajectory that all countries in the world have faced, coming from destruction and into construction.
Very true.
Thank you for joining us. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can also find us on your TV screens. We're on GoTV, Star Times, and Pang Free to Air. Have a good evening and see you tomorrow.